and gentlemen, welcome to NFL Fantasy Week 14, Father and Son and Holy Sports. Great to be with y'all. We're headed toward the fantasy playoffs. Team Money here. We're in Columbus, Ohio, together again for the holidays.
Great.
And Team Money and G-Man here bringing you Week 14, getting you ready for the fantasy playoffs. I hope you all made the playoffs. This is a big time of year. We're going to help you win that first game, right, Team Money? How are you feeling about you're in the playoffs in your league? You're number one seed.
Excited to be there, back again, trying to defend my title. And I know you're trying to squeeze into the playoffs. Big game for you tonight with the Dallas game, but you're in. They got to score 50 points. Two low-key players shouldn't get there. So watch, I probably just jinxed him. So, sorry about that. But defending champs right here, trying to both go protect their title, so it's exciting.
It is, and hey, man, there's a lot going on.
I know.
And what do you think, man? What's up in your world as you look at last weekend and what's coming up this weekend? What's on your mind?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing that sticks out to me is Carson Wentz finally getting benched for Jalen Hurts. That was a pretty big deal. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. And Jalen Hurts they want to get him in there. It's almost like this was almost planned to come. He was the second-round draft pick.
Yeah.
They wanted to work him in. So they certainly waited a long time, though, didn't they?
They did. They definitely waited a minute. I mean, it's been really interesting. I feel bad for Carson because his wide receiver core is horrible, and the offensive line has been just a rotating door of people. But you got to play better than he's been playing, and that's what happens. You get replaced. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do going forward. His cap hit next year is $60 million if he's cut, and $24 million the year after if they cut him. They can't cut him. So it's either he trades or he rides the bench at making $60 million next year.
It ends at the end of 2022. But they made him the highest player when they gave us that salary you're talking about.
Yeah.
They made him the highest paid player in football. They thought he was good.
Yeah.
So at what point do you say the coaches at some point got to take responsibility for a player if they don't develop? It's just like in a company.
I know.
If people are not developing, is that part on you? I mean,
no.
The guy has some kind of skill.
I agree. It's been interesting. A part of me thinks they gave him this contract before last season. So part of me thinks he kind of went down the drains a little bit at the end of last year. And maybe that's why the GM drafted a QB so high, even after giving him that contract. Interesting. But, I think the other big thing this week, the Steelers finally losing.
Yeah.
But they lost to the lowly Washington football team, and then that's embarrassing to lose to an NFC least team. I mean, my God, the Steelers have not looked that good these past couple weeks.
No, they seem to be stumbling here for some reason. Washington is a good team. I like their defense with Chase Young. But Big Ben throws 53 passes and down the clutch when they could have run. He passed the ball. 33 of 53. He throws 2 touchdown passes in the second quarter. Doesn't do anything in the second half.
I know.
And now they come up against the Bills, who, when you and I debated a couple weeks ago about where Pittsburgh would fall, I thought it was going to be the Bills, but they fell before the Bills.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, they basically turned the short pass game into their run game, which I think is a bad play. And if you really dig into their record, who have they beaten? Their best win right now is Cleveland, and they absolutely throttled Cleveland. But other than that, every game they've been in, every team has had a chance to score here and take the game over. The one other big win they have is the Ravens, the first round, not when they were playing all backups because of COVID last week. The first round, Lamar Jackson threw 3 picks, had a fumble. One of the picks was a pick 6. The other one was basically a pick 6 to like the 5-yard line. And the Ravens still had a chance to win that game with a couple minutes left. So they really haven't been that impressive. Probably the worst undefeated team if you really look at their schedule. Bunch of backups and bad teams. So
pretty good team, though, and we're going to see what this week against the Bills. The Bills look good in their last game.
Yeah.
And now we got these 2 powerhouses going at it this coming week, the Bills and the Steelers going at it. Let's move on to our first game, the trivia of the week, sponsored by Woundwise. Today's trivia brought to you by Woundwise IQ. It's a patented mobile imaging analytics software app that's used by leading physicians and nurses caring for people with chronic wounds. Learn more at woundwiseiq.com. And here's our trivia of the week from Woundwise IQ, Team Money. You're going to think about this, and our fans are going to think about this.
Okay.
Jim Harabaugh, coach of Michigan, has reported he reportedly received an offer, renewal offer from Michigan. That's the word on the street.
Yep.
For lower pay. He's going to have lower pay if he stays at Michigan, or we hear he has 4 to 5 NFL offers. So if he goes to the NFL, where should he go? And that's our question for you. Any reaction without answering it?
Yeah, going to be interesting. You know, I'm a Michigan fan myself, so he hasn't worked out that great. If he's willing to take lower pay, I'd be hoping that he stays. But, you know, it's going to be interesting. I agree. He's going to have a lot of offers. So I'll give you more solidified answer at the end.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Give me a more solidified answer, and let's move on to picks of the week. See if T-Money can get that trivia pick at the end. And we're going to start off with our picks of the week. And the lock, G-Man starting with Indy at Las Vegas. Indy's going to Las Vegas. Indy's favored by 3. I'm going to go with Indy as the road favorite here. They're coming off a big win over the Texans. The Raiders have had 2 straight poor performances. And guess what? The Raiders are just 2-3 straight up at home this year.
Okay.
And the Colts are 3-0 against the spread in their last times as road favorites. So I'm going to go with those odds and say Indy wins as the road favorite.
Yeah, I like Indy here. Vegas has barely beat the Jets this past week. They had to win on a Hail Mary, crazy play, you know, but that's just the Jets right there, probably tanking on purpose to still make sure they get Trevor Lawrence there. But yeah, I like Indy here as well. I'm going to go with Green Bay at Detroit. Green Bay has been killing the spread all year. I think the stat is that Aaron Rodgers has hit 73% of the spreads this year. I really like this pick. Detroit's been better since they fired Patricia, as most teams would be. But I think Green Bay gets this one.
Well, I'm with you on the Green Bay game. Look at my over-under lock, my Dan Wren special. Over-under, Green Bay at Detroit, over 54.5. It's the highest point total of Week 14, but I'm going over it, man. Can Aaron and the Packers offense get 30? Of course they can. And let's look at Detroit, the Lions, coming off a 34-point game against the Bears.
Yeah.
Got a pretty good defense.
Very good defense.
So can those two teams score 54? Yeah. They played in Week 2. They scored 63.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they didn't go over this because both have atrocious defenses. So easy over pick here. My next lock here is Tennessee at Jacksonville. I picked Jacksonville last week as one of my locks. They were underdogs by 8.5, and they did not cover. Or they did cover. I'm sorry, they did cover. This week, they're not going to cover. Tennessee's going to be pissed. They just got throttled by the Browns. They need to win this game to stay in contention. Jacksonville needs to make sure that they don't keep winning these close games or potentially winning so they can keep a high draft pick. I think Tennessee wins this one running away. Derrick Henry, monster game, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, something crazy like that.
We make our picks separately. I don't know who you're picking, and really until we come on here do we know each other's picks.
Right? No, we don't.
And I'm going to go with Tennessee too. You're going to see in a minute on my hot board for the hot starters. So we're kind of syncing up here this week. It's either going to be real good or real bad.
Yeah.
I'm going with the dog lock next. The dog lock are teams that are getting 3 or more that we think can win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And we're starting off with Denver at Carolina. That's my dog lock. Denver getting 3.5. And the biggest reason for this spread, we believe, me and my buddies, is that Carolina has McCaffrey coming back. This line's getting pumped up because of McCaffrey. Really, we don't know how much he's going to play in that game.
Yeah.
And Denver's coming in. Carolina, if you take the McCaffrey factor, everybody's pumped up about that. Take that off the board. Carolina's just 2-8 straight up and against the spread in their last 10 games as favored of 3 or more points. They're a favorite here. I don't think they cover, and Denver probably wins.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Denver gave Kansas City a little scare this past week, too, so they don't look half bad. Their defense is definitely solid. I think they lead the league, actually, in batted down passes. They were really frustrating Patrick Mahomes there. So I think if you're right, if McCaffrey is limited and they try to feed him the ball a little too much, and Denver's defense stops them, I think Denver could win that one. My long shot here, my dog lock of the week, I think that I feel pretty good about this one. Yeah. New England is underdogs by 5 points to the Rams here. Okay, the Rams don't look good. Goff looks horrible. Belichick, the last time they played was the Super Bowl and just completely shut them and Goff down. I think they had 12 points in that game.
Which LA Rams team's going to show up here?
There's two. Yes, they are two different teams week to week. Now, their defense is great, but their offense has been atrocious. Jared Goff's been atrocious. And Belichick is great versus young quarterbacks. That is key. He is great versus young quarterbacks. I think that they could win this game easily, and 5 points is a lot to give to New England, who just beat the Chargers by 45-0. That is insane.
All right.
45-0.
Good pick. I like that one. Let's keep going here, man. Let's go to our next game, the hot and cold blitz.
All right.
We're going to pick 5 hot. T's going to pick 5 cold. We're only going over the first 3 with you. Quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we're typing this on Tuesday night. So, we got a lot of time between now and game time, although there is a game Thursday night.
Yeah.
For the most part, we're trying to predict these and give you knowledge so you can be effective in setting up your lineup. Let's first go to the hot quarterback, and I told you I was going with Tennessee.
You did.
Ryan Tannehill. For some reason last game they could not establish Derrick Henry in the run game, which was really weird. And so what happened? Tannehill throws for a season-high 45 pass attempts. Is Tannehill going to keep throwing like that? Because if he is, he's going to get some fantasy points here. He threw 3 touchdowns. They scored 35 points on the Browns. They get a nice matchup here against the Jags coming up. And quarterbacks average 21.5 points versus the Jags. Tannehill's only, projected here, what is that, 19-4? He's going to beat that.
Yeah, I think Tennessee's going to have a big game. I do think last week was a factor of being down 35-7, so they had to pass the ball. But surprisingly, people are praising Baker this past weekend for his performance. Tannehill had a better game. If you look at the line, he had a better game and more fantasy points. So watch out for that one. So I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson here as my cold pick, though. They're playing Cleveland, and I think Cleveland's going to be upset. They're on a roll. They're going to have the ball for a lot of the game. They are the number 1 running team in the league. They're trying to become one of the few teams to ever have 2,000-yard rushers on their team. I think there's only been 5 other teams that have done that. So I think that Cleveland's going to stop him here. That defense is really good, and he hasn't scored over 21 points in 3 of his last 4 weeks.
All of our fans are going to have the benefit of seeing the game tonight. We haven't seen the game tonight. We don't know what Lamar is doing, but it'd be nice to see that game and then make this pick here.
Yeah.
But I see why you're saying that, man. I see why you're saying that. Let me go to the hot running back pick. These hot picks are starters who are going to go off, and I'm saying Montgomery's going to go off. This guy has an unbelievable playoff schedule. You look at his schedule coming up. The guy, he should run wild for the playoffs. Who's ever got him, he's going to push the fantasy owners who have him all the way to victory. Yeah. He broke out in week 12. He had another huge week in week 13. He rushed 17 times for 72 yards out of 4 receptions. For 39 yards. He scored 25 and 23 fantasy points in the last 2 games. And now he faces Houston, who allows the second most points to running backs. This guy's on a roll.
Yeah, he's killing it. I like riding him. He's going to be one of those guys that you got in the 6th round of your fantasy draft that ends up winning it for you. That's what he's about to be. My cold one of this week, I know this is your boy. This is Jonathan Taylor here.
No way.
He's at the Raiders. They have a solid defensive line. He hasn't it's mainly because he got a touchdown last week that he had such a big week. Now, he has been getting more rush attempts. That's great. He's been getting more rushes. Hines still looks like the pass catcher in that backfield. And he hadn't really played well, big explosion until this past week.
Exactly. What we were hoping for.
Exactly.
But he has been up and down. It's been so frustrating, too.
Yes.
The Jonathan Taylor owners. I'm going for my wide receiver. You're going to love this. Michael Thomas, going to get hot. I only say that because he's got 14.8, target fantasy points, and I think he'll get more than that because he's had, he's picked up now in the last couple weeks. He's got over 20 fantasy points now in the last week, and 2 weeks ago before that he was over 20. So the guy's starting to get synced up here with Taysom Hill. He's averaging 18 completions a game on average, Taysom Hill, but last game he had 27 completions. So he's starting to pick up steam.
Definitely better.
I think Michael Thomas will come on with him. and they'll be up against the Eagles this week, and they'll get over 14.5.
Yeah. I think that's a solid pick. 14 is low for him, so he could definitely hit that really easily, just the amount of targets he gets. I'm going with another Mike. I'm going to go with Mike Evans.
As a Cole.
Yes, I'm going Mike Evans. They're at the Vikings. He scored a touchdown in 4 of the last 5 weeks. I don't think he can keep up this streak of touchdowns. 3 weeks in a row, he scored a touchdown. One of those he scored 2 touchdowns in. So he's getting a lot of fantasy points, but he doesn't have a ton of production. And I think Minnesota's going to come in here. They're trying to make the playoffs. They're right outside of the playoffs, or I think they might be in the 7th seed already. So I think that they're going to come with a fire. Mike Zimmer's a solid defensive coach as a head coach. I think that Mike Evans gets under 14 here.
That's going to be a fun game to watch. Tampa Bay and Minnesota going at it.
Oh, yeah.
2 teams right there on the cusp that are good, that can make a run if they get some momentum going. And they really need Mike Evans.
They really do.
They can't afford him to go down here.
No.
Hey, let's go to our next game. We covered hot and cold blitz. You can see the other picks there, guys, at tight end and DST that we picked. We're going to move on and cover the next group for you. That's the Ross v. Ross Challenge.
All right, baby.
And what do we have here, T?
Yeah, this week we're going to talk about which NFL coach you would fire if you were an owner. Me personally, I'm going with Anthony Lynn here. Okay, right now he's one of the lower level teams here. He's not on the hot seat as many people talk about, but I think he should be, especially after this past week. Now, I like Anthony Lynn. I think everyone likes Anthony Lynn as a person. He's a good guy. He seems like a solid leader, but there's more than that. And eventually you have to be held accountable for what you're doing on the field. And he clearly was in a mismatch this past week versus Bill Belichick. Clear as day, 45-0. I mean, that is a stomping. I think that just highlights how bad a coach he's been. This past week before losing, they had lost 8 of 9. The 9 games they had lost, 8 of them were 1 possessions. That's coaching. That is coaching. They've had leads in almost all the games, and 8 of the 9 are 1 possession, and he can't. There's been no overtime games, it has been a lot of losses in games that are winnable.
Well, I know you're Herbert, your boy, and you didn't want to see him go down like that last week. And
he is
and Anthony has done pretty well with Herbert so far, but now the last 2 weeks, Herbert's kind of fallen off, and you're kind of wondering what's going on. But I got to go with Adam Gase. I mean, that's the logical guy I would fire, not for a multitude of reasons. Yeah, he's 0-12, but if you look over since he started, he's 7-21. So he started off bad. He's still bad. And aren't you supposed to get better? You know, any person, if you're a CEO, you got to get better every year. It doesn't matter what it's like when you take over the team. You got to keep improving. Yeah. And Adam Gase is getting worse. They're now not winning at all when they were winning a couple. The second reason is they lose their last game, and that's on that Hail Mary play. And he fires the defensive coordinator, which I think is just a classless move. And no guts, to not take accountability yourself.
Yeah, he didn't take
that room and not let them get fired. That's your guy, man.
I know.
That's the guy in your staff. If you're not defending him, I don't think he has any respect. And the guy makes $2 million a year, so forget that.
Yeah, I mean the Jets is Adam Gase is the obvious answer here. I honestly believe that they are purely keeping him around because they want him to lose so that they get the first pick. I truly, truly believe that because there's been no reason all season for him to be a coach still. But Sam Darnold has clearly regressed, and he's a solid top 3 pick from his draft. But Anthony Lynn, I'm telling you, they just lose too many close games. This isn't just because of Herbert. Before that, Phillip Rivers' legacy was tied to Anthony Lynn at the end there, and they were known for losing close games. They couldn't win the big game. That's the knock on Phillip Rivers. And I think the biggest thing moving forward is you want a solid coach to coach Herbert here. He's clearly proven to be a phenomenal quarterback in this league. And moving forward, you want to pair him with someone that can out-coach other teams. Look at Sean McVay. Goff is clearly not as talented as Herbert, it looks like, And McVay just can out-coach people. Look at Brian Flores, young coach in Miami, helping Tua along. Kyle Shanahan helping Garoppolo along when he clearly isn't to the level of Herbert. You have a guy of Herbert's talent. You need to surround him with a coach of the same talent, and they can ride that wave together for the next 10-plus years.
You're very passionate about this topic.
I am. I just like firing people. That's what I like to do.
You get that opportunity, you want to take that step.
But
But it's funny, we didn't pick any of these other guys. And my second choice, I'm not going to talk about it, but my second choice was almost Mike McCarthy.
yeah.
Just how fast and hard that Dallas has fallen. I just think that he's got to take responsibility. But then I look at Jerry Jones, and I'm thinking, how much can I blame Mike McCarthy?
Yeah.
Hey, let's go on to the next one, Lemons to Lemonade here, T-Money.
All right.
And here we're looking for top 5 waiver pickups. We're looking at people less than 50% rostered. So you go out and pick these guys up on waivers. We think they have a great potential, not only for this week, but as you move through the playoffs. Even you look at their next few games, how did they look? So we're going to start off here with our first one, T-Money.
Yeah, I'm going James White here, rostered in 24% of leagues.
And he's still 24%.
Yeah, I know he had a rough game this past week, but once again, they were up 45-0 on the Chargers. When you're up, what do? You run the ball. James White is mostly a pass catcher, and he gets those runs when he's in there as a pass catcher decoy. He's over 14 points 2 of the last 3 weeks. It won't be like that again. That's purely because Anthony Lynn is a bad coach. And so with Burkhead still out, James White's clearly the number 1 running back in that backfield. Best pass catcher by far. I would go get James White still if you're looking for someone and you have a bye.
Hey, second waiver pickup, we recommend Logan Thomas, tight end, Washington. Only rostered 25% of the teams, of the league teams. Over 5 targets the last 5 games. The last 2 weeks, he scored both weeks. He's got fantasy points of 13 and 24. And guess what? Alex loves to throw to him. Every clutch throw.
Yeah,
he's going with the Logan Thomas. This guy's just eating up the targets from Alex Smith. And so the guy's an athlete. He's got potential. So I'm saying he's going to beat the 7.6 number.
Yeah, I think since Alex Smith took over, I think he's a top 6 tight end, if I can recall there. So that's a great pickup. Definitely, if you're looking for tight end and you're rotating through a bunch week to week. My next guy here, though, I'm going Kiki Kuti, one of my favorite names in football, and now one of my favorite waiver wire pickups this week. Only rostered in 3% of leagues, okay? I know that he's only had 1 big game this past week, and people are going to say it's a fluke. But with Will Fuller out, I believe he's a top 2 option in that offense. Yeah. And Houston is all of a sudden a high-powered offense.
Yeah, definitely a good pickup. I agree with that. T.Y. Hilton's the next one, 47%. I can't believe he's 47. Last week it was 45. And at this show, we told everybody to go get him.
Go get him.
He was only 45 last week. He's 47 now. And guess what? He's got 25 fantasy points this past week, ladies and gentlemen. We told y'all to go out there and get it.
Yep.
And now T.Y. Hilton's still sitting there. Week 12, he had 81 receiving yards. Week 13, he has 110. He's now facing the Raiders secondary.
Very
and then he gets the Texans after that. And week 15, T.Y. Hilton, man.
Yeah, Rivers is finally throwing the ball to a person on his team, so that's good because that usually means it's T.Y. Hilton. So good for you, Phillip Rivers. We told you to go get T.Y. Hilton, didn't we? So
you did call him out for his interceptions.
I did. So the next guy, same team, but the backfield. I said Taylor was going to be cold this week because I think Hines is still the main pass-catching back, and they secretly love Hines. He gets the ball near the goal line a lot. He's in clutch spots. He's out there. I still think Hines is the guy in that backfield. Over 12 points 4 out of his last 6 weeks. That's pretty solid for a guy that's rostered.
Floor, you're right.
Yeah, very low floor. And 2 of those were over 21. So he has boom potential.
Yeah.
21 and 28 points in 2 of those games. So
45%.
Yeah, definitely go pick him up if you can.
All right. Hey, good roster pickups there, guys.
Yeah.
Our top 5 lemons to lemonade for you coming from Father, Son, and Holy Sport team here. G-Man. All right, let's go on to the answers. And T-Money's thoughts on Trivia of the Week. We asked y'all, Jim Harbaugh has reportedly received a renewal offer from Michigan. We think it's lower pay, but they have made an offer to him. That's the word on the street. We also heard that he has 4 to 5 NFL offers. So if he goes to the NFL, where should he go? Team Money, what do you think?
Kind of crazy. Why not just go to the Detroit Lions? You don't have to move. You get to live in the same house in the same city. Just move on over to the Detroit Lions. I think that would be a solid spot for him. I like him there, but I think if I was him, I would choose the Bears personally, because they have a great defense already. All you got to do is go out, get you a solid quarterback, maybe trade for Carson Wentz, see if you can redo his mechanics and his mentality. I think that would be a great one. You could flip him for Nick Foles. How much would Philly like that one? Really, they're a quarterback away out there because they have a great possession receiver now in Robinson. David Montgomery, solid, but a huge free agent running back class coming up here, so you can sign someone, and that defense is great. Going to an established place where you don't have to rebuild that much, I would go to the Bears if I was.
Is that your number one pick, the Bears or the Detroit Lions?
I think it would be hilarious if he went to the Lions, but I don't think the state of Michigan will let him do that. They're kicking him out of the state of Michigan. So I think the Bears got to be where I would go.
Well, we went to the Sporting News to answer this question, and they gave us 4 probable spots, the 4 spots.
Okay.
And you were on one of them. One of them was Detroit. The other 3 are the Jets, of course.
Yeah.
Atlanta Falcons. We got Detroit Lions and the Houston Texans. And I think the notable thing is the Lions and the Texans are both looking for GMs too. And you look at someone like Harbaugh's personality, moving into an organization, is he going to rub people the wrong way? Well, if you bring in the GM and the coach together, you got the chemistry. So maybe Detroit or Houston are the better spots for him because he can come in with the GM.
Yeah, that's a good move. I think Houston's going to end up with Eric Bieniemy. Deshaun Watson's already signed off on that one. He wants a more offensive coach. And I'm surprised the Bears aren't on here. That's what intrigues me. But think back to when Pete Carroll joined the NFL here. He was really successful as a head coach because he drafted great guys that were undervalued in the first couple years he was there, because he was a head coach in college football before that. So watch out for, even if he goes somewhere that has a GM already, he will be successful there for the next few years because he recruited all of these guys coming out of college for the next few years. So look out for that.
That's a good point. I think, you look at these teams, the Lions need a fresh start. Him staying in Michigan, I agree that would be kind of an issue because the fans there kind of lost their taste for him. But, he can go in and fix that culture where Matt Patricia was at. And, there are some good players there and some good players in Houston too. I mean, they got some great players. Teams that I think they could build on. Even the Jets have some great young players. These teams have players that you can build around if you get the right coach.
Yep, I agree. I think the biggest thing with the Jets is, do they think Harabaugh would gel with Trevor Lawrence? That is all that matters. Maybe you even wait until they draft Trevor Lawrence and ask him. I don't even know, because Trevor Lawrence is going to run that, not Jim Harbaugh. So I think the biggest thing is, would he attract Jim Harbaugh, or would you not want to go there because of how poorly Jim Harbaugh has been with Michigan, even though he was successful in the NFL already? So going to be intriguing.
And I think Harbaugh is going to probably have to go.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen.
Yeah, he'll be a hot commodity for sure.
So, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed our games and our picks, and that you can make some cash off of FanDuel or DraftKings, off of some of our picks here, and that you can win the first round of your fantasy league coming up this week 14, your first round of the playoffs. I hope you all win and go get it. And I want to thank our sponsor again, Woonwise IQ. Thank you so much for sponsoring. We're looking for sponsors. Please let us know. And if you like the show, please press the like button and subscribe. And we really appreciate it. We're trying to build up our base to 1,000 followers, and Team Money's doing a great job getting the word out. Have a great week. Good luck this week.
All right. We'll see you later, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in.